Thank you, Tada, Mark. I feel so grateful to be with all of you. Thank you to IJS for allowing me a presence to help facilitate this evening's gathering. Chodesh Tov to all of you. Barachot habaot, barachim habaim. Shalom, shalom. Welcome to everyone from Nachlaot, Yerushalayim. Indeed, this is such a zechut, such a real blessing, a source of gratitude. So I'd like to begin with bringing us together and sharing three focused, cleansing, anchoring, unifying breaths together. And I would like to suggest that we see an inhalation, she'ifa in Hebrew, as active receiving of the gift of life from our Creator. And then, as we would with any precious object, to just hold and gaze at this beautiful gift. And being that it's on loan, we then, as we exhale gently, harpaya, as we gently move into our exhalation, nishifa, imagine we are returning with gratitude and care this gift. And lo and behold, after we are through returning the gift, we can receive the next gift. So I invite us all to focus, to draw our attention to three different potentials as we inhale the gift, and then actualizing as we exhale. The first is the gift of being able to release, lehishtachorea, shichora in Hebrew. The second is the gift of nochachut, cultivating presence, mind, body, heart, and soul, and presence with each other. And the third is the koach, the potential, the power of the gift of being able to connect to all the different parts of me and all the different parts of you and each other. So I invite us now to breathe those three breaths together. Receive, hold, and return. Thank you. I'd like to share some teachings through the lens of seeing or experiencing Sefirat HaOmer as tales of transformation. When you think of a tale of transformation, perhaps your tale of a transformative moment in your lives, what thoughts and feelings does this evoke? Excitement, celebration, unsurety, insecurity, courage, fear, perhaps some or even all of these, or other ideas and feelings that may be unexpected. What in fact do you aspire to, strive to, and hope for as you enter the space and the experience of a transformative moment? Today's Sefirat HaOmer invites us to experience a transformative moment through the healing energies of Chesed Shebeteferet, a classical teaching in our tradition that continuously guides and inspires me, and perhaps it will you, along my own path of transformative moments, and perhaps yours, is found in a beautiful Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, Masechet Avot, Perek Bet, the second chapter, the first Mishnah. I'll read it in Hebrew and then translate. Rabbi Omer, Ezohi derech yeshara sheyavo lo ha'adam. Rabbi, meaning Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, who codified the Mishnah in 200 CE, asks, which is the right derech, the right path, the right course that a person should choose for him or herself? He answers, Kol shehi teferet lo oseha, uteferet lo min adam. That which brings teferet, and on purpose I'm not translating it yet, that which brings teferet to the person who adopts it, and brings to the person teferet from those around the person. In Hebrew, the word expressing integrity is yashra, or yosher, or yashrut, all derivatives from the word in the Mishnah, straight, the straight path. I would like to suggest that Rebbe is asking, by what means does a person choose for him or herself the path of integrity? He answers with the word teferet, a way of life that brings teferet to the person and brings the person teferet from those around the person. It's as if I'm giving nachat to the world around me, and I receive in return more teferet. Teferet has many meanings: compassion, beauty, pleasing, pleasantness, honor, integrating polarities. And as Rabbi Mark teaches us, teferet is the sacred energy manifesting in the spiritual trait of anava, usually translated as humility, but more accurately connoting balanced self. Oh, balanced self. I would like to suggest that cultivating a balanced self means living within the mean between the extremes. Our tradition does not lack teachings on cultivating a path that values living within the mean between the extremes, haderech ha'emtza'i. Luminaries, great luminaries, spanning over centuries, the Rambam, HaMeiri, the Nachalat Avot, the Bertanora, the Me'am Lo'ez, and the more contemporary in Israel, the Kahati, to name a few, emphasize the importance of this guiding principle. Avoiding extremes, choosing a way of life along the middle road, the middle course, haderech ha'emtza'i, means a person needs to balance one's own needs with what is beneficial to society. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, teaches in Likutei Sichot, volume 4, to this middle of the road way of life, a way of life devoted to integrity without moving towards the extremes, as follows. A way of living which brings teferet to oneself points to the potential of human beings to unite with the divine without intermediaries. As a Jew in particular begins to develop a connection with the divine through the Torah, he or she needs to develop as well. It's a spiritual practice, as well an intimate and private relationship with the divine. Nevertheless, the Rebbe continues, one's unique, personal, and intimate connection with the divine, the Shekhinah within oneself, our internal landscape, our inner being, nevertheless, one's unique personal and intimate connection with the divine must also bring to oneself teferet from other people. As we learn in Kiddushin 40a, cultivating closeness and nearness to the divine must never take one away from worldly life. He quotes the Rambam in Hilchot Yesodei HaTorah, the 5th chapter, the 4th halacha, that a person's conduct should be good to the heavens and good to the creations. The Rebbe understands this to mean that the good one performs, for it to be in balance, for it to be honorable, for it to be beautiful and pleasant, and for it to manifest compassion, needs to also be appreciated and valued by others. While striving for spiritual heights and depth of experience, a person must find favor, motzei chen, in the eyes of his or her fellow, Jews and Gentiles alike. Rabbi Simon Jacobson, founder of Meaningful Life Center, views Tiferet as compassion, blending and harmonizing the free outpouring love of chesed with the discipline of gevurah. The chesed energy within the practice of compassion is to cultivate the love aspect of compassion. He suggests we do this by examining ourselves, and perhaps as we move into our sit in a few moments, you may want to ask yourselves these questions. Is my compassion tender and loving, or does it come across as pity? Is my sympathy condescending and patronizing? Even if my intention is otherwise, do others perceive it as such? Does my compassion overflow with love and warmth? Is it expressed with enthusiasm, or is it static and lifeless? I would like to conclude that the potential healing energies of Chesed Shebeteferet invite us to believe and trust in ourselves enough to take the first step, to move ahead, and to explore this practice with a free-flowing, non-judgmental, open heart. When we, in fact, do this, we can create a balanced self. We can integrate polarities. We can walk along the path of life punctuated by compassion, honor, and beauty. And we can indeed walk the exquisite walk of the one who walks the magnificent tightrope, always maintaining balance. Each step brings us further into the space of living with integrity, with true moments that are transformative, and to quote Heschel, moments that are radically amazing. So as we hold that space, as we now move into our time to meditate, to contemplate together, I'm going to sound the gong. I invite us to settle in, maintaining comfortable and good posture, the crown of our head pointing up into the universe, good backbone, spinal cord allowing the vertebrae to do what they're created to do, feet on the ground, or if you're sitting cross-legged in a balanced position. And as you settle in, begin to give yourselves permission. Begin to feel energy from above, moving down through the crown of your head, through the palms of your hand, into your body, passing by your heart center, helping to open up the heart as it moves further down into the lower part of the body, into the legs, down through into the feet, and out through the soles of the feet. And at the same time, we can then begin to feel energy moving from the very core of the earth as it moves up through the soles of the feet into our legs, up through the lower part of our body, up through our torso, moving past our heart center, helping to open up our heart, moving up to the palms of our hands, up through our head, up through the crown of our head, back into the universe. And as we feel this energy, as we feel this embodied experience, I invite us all to become part of each of our own unique rhythm, the rhythm of inhaling, of receiving the gift of life, Nishmat Chaim. What a beautiful gift. Holding that gift, gazing at that gift, through the gift of contemplation and through the gift of feeling, and then relax into our exhalation as we return the gift. And when we feel settled in that rhythm, the inhalation, the exhalation, the breathing in, the holding, the breathing out, the energy moving from above through us below, from below moving up into the universe above, I invite us to perhaps visualize, to move into a visualization. One of my Rebbes, the Piasetzner Rebbe, teaches the importance of ledamien, to imagine, letzayer, to visualize. Begin to visualize perhaps that you're high up with this higher consciousness gazing out, and you're on this beautiful, strong tightrope, and you're balancing yourself a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, and you're walking along this tightrope. What are you feeling? The adventure, the challenge to maintain balance. A little bit of fear mixed with some confidence, perhaps. See that tightrope. See that tightrope as Tiferet, as balance, as showing compassion, showing honor, integrating polarities. And each time you take a step forward, you're cultivating the chesed in the balance. So let's sit with that in silence for the next several moments. And in our last couple of minutes together, I invite us all to now direct our attention, our kavanot, our feelings, to each other in this amazing room, which may be virtual, but the energy is very real. As we encourage by our presence, we are encouraging each other. We are supporting each other. We are there for each other, rooting each other on to perhaps take that first step in cultivating chesed shebeteferet. And as we move and expand beyond the virtual space, may we be able to encourage and show support, really show support with compassion to those we love, to those we like, to those we work with and know, community members, to those we may not connect with so much, to those we may not even like. However, chesed shebeteferet, let's share that with all of us, with all of our fellow human beings. Sit with that for one more minute. And as the sound of the gong recedes into the background, I invite us to once again close with 3 wonderful breaths, bringing in chesed shebeteferet. Toda, toda.
Toda, Yiscah. Beautiful. It's a beautiful teaching.
Thank you.
And in keeping with what you said about how we are here for each other, we're here to support each other. We hold each other, especially those of us who are in mourning, who are observing a yurtzeit, or if it's your custom to engage in the practice of Kaddish, especially for those who have none to recite Kaddish for them. We invite you to put the name or names of anyone who you're holding in your heart today in the chat box now or after the Kaddish, if you prefer, that's fine. And for the rest of us who are not reciting Kaddish, we are witnesses. We are here to extend that compassion, that chesed shebeteferet today, and to hold each other with chesed, balancing and extending compassion for each other. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit. Join me. Yitkadal, Yitkadal, Shemei Rabbah, Yama, Dibra, Chilute, Yame, Chute, Kaye, Hon, Yame, Kaye, Defal, Agala, Isman, Beef, Ishmei, Rabba, Mivarach, Olam, Kol, Havaya, Ela, Birchata,
Shalom V'Amra
Yasher
Shalom
Shalom
Yoko Yisrael Yoko Yasher V'Amra Amen.
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 Friends, thank you for joining us today. As always, Chodesh Tov, Shavua Tov. This is a 2-day Rosh Chodesh, so tomorrow will be Rosh Chodesh as well. As we move into Gevura, Sheba Tiferet will be led in practice tomorrow by Cantor Kareth Spencer Shapiro. Look forward to that. I want to thank Yiscah Smith for leading us so beautifully in practice, and you're all welcome to stay on for some conversation with Yiscah about the teaching. Really multidimensional and profound teaching today, and share reflections on your practice, and just to stay connected. Thanks to Adi Stein, and thank you so much, Rabbi Deborah Robbins in Dallas, Texas, for sponsoring our practice today. With IJS, we're deeply grateful to and admiring of you for your work and dedication to this practice, and for bringing it into the world in so many different ways. So, and for those who are leaving us, we hope to see you tomorrow or later this week. We have a wonderful week of teaching. Of course, this week includes Yom HaZikaron, the Israeli Memorial Day, and Yom HaAtzmaut, Wednesday and Thursday, respectively. So we hope you'll join us for any or all of our practices this week. Thanks for being with us, and many blessings for the rest of the day. If you do have a question for Yiscah Smith, I want to invite you to put it in the chat box, and I'll try to keep an eye on it. And I see there are already a bunch. I'm going to quickly scroll through, and let's see. Okay. So first of all, lots of gratitude. So there's a question about, here's a question. Of course, there's a lot to unpack here, and the whole basic idea of Sfirat HaOmer, the counting the Omer, and unpacking one of these qualities, the Sfirah of the week, the Midah of the week, which has so many different connotations in and of itself, and then adding to it another Sfirah is not an easy thing to do. But here's a question from Laura Zinker about, please expand on the distinctions between the balance of Tiferet and Anava, which is a good question, because we're using, IJS at least is using Anava as you said, as a connotation of balanced self, and connecting it with Tiferet. It's just an opportunity to expand on that if you'd like, Yiscah.
What a wonderful question. It took me many, many years to begin to understand the power of anava, which we loosely translate as humility. And I was coming from the perspective of other cultures, other disciplines, other religions. I was brought up in a Jewish home in New York many years ago, without much of with some of the tradition, but not a lot. So my whole understanding of humility was almost this image of someone bent over and feeling very small like that. So it wasn't a midah that I felt I wanted to rush towards. Yet it seemed that Judaism places so much importance on it. And I once learned, it's a common phrase, maybe some of you have heard it, that humility does not mean to think less of me, it's to think of me less. So I'm not preoccupied with my ego, I'm not preoccupied with me being the center of the universe, but I do have a sense of self-respect, a sense of self-esteem, that I do believe my Creator created me in its image in order to bestow the image of someone who believes one is created in the image of the Creator, to bestow that and manifest that in the world. So it's holding both. It's really holding, it's not that I think less of me, but I think of me less. And at the same time, when I do think of me, it's how can I be in service? How can the real me be in service? And there's a balance to that. That's how I really appreciated, Mark, your teaching in the handout that you sent us, how you see Anava as a balanced self. It's beautiful. So yeah, thank
Thank
you
you.
for that.
Thank you. Well, there was another question. Thought I saw another question. Well, I have my own question. Oh, here it is. Please speak to the difference. Great. This is a great question. The difference between chesed shebegvura and chesed shebetiferet, especially when engaging with someone else who is aggressive and currently very out of balance, but to do so with humility and not judgment. Ooh, that's a lot in there. But let's just start with this, how to understand this idea of this is the week of Tiferet, right? So this is, and we really appreciated also the Mishnah teaching that you brought about, which we could just focus on that. Having of manifesting Tiferet and eliciting Tiferet from others, right? Was also fantastic. Chesed. So, how do we? Is Chesed the gate? Is Chesed the way we get to balance, or is it a week? Is this today a day of balancing, of bringing Tiferet, balancing Chesed for ourselves and for others, or between ourselves and God?
I think the latter is more Tiferet Shebeteferet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How I understand Chesed Shebeteferet is that output, that going forth, as
Mm-hmm.
compared to Guvra, which is the holding back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's how I ended the teaching, which is my own idea, my own
Mm-hmm.
suggestion. It's believing in me enough that with the help of the divine, I can take the first step. It's just taking that first step into cultivating the balancing of self, or
Yeah.
cultivating compassion, or cultivating honor and dignity, or cultivating chen, cultivating the
Grace. Yeah.
integration of polarities. However we define Tiferet, it's I'm taking the initiative. The Kabbalah refers to it as an arousal from below, and itaruta de latata causes then an itaruta de leila, an arousal from above. It's just, I'm going to take that first step. That's how I understand the Chesed Shebeteferet.
That's great. A lot of people I see are very taken by the tightrope metaphor. And it made me think about how you began, that this is a period, at least I can paraphrase it. You correct me, okay, if I'm paraphrasing here. So this is a period, this Omer period is really a period of giving ourselves over to a process of transformation.
Yeah.
And that sounds good. But, it sounds good, but what? But, it also can evoke, whoa. That obviously means change. That means it's challenge. So I loved that you raised, what does this evoke? Excitement. Yes. Transformation. Great. Celebration. Great. Uncertainty, unsurety, not knowing, right? Which brings up anxiety, which requires courage, fear, all of the above. Okay. So I'm thinking about the first step on the tightrope, which requires balance. And the other word that you use that I want to highlight is integrity. Avoiding extremes, because obviously if you're on the tightrope, that is a reminder that you might tilt one way or another, but there's something that kicks in. So Yiscah, this is what I want to share about it. That comes up for me is how I understand Tiferet / Anava here is that we have an instinct within us, this divine instinct that, that it's inevitable and necessary for us to lean one way or the other, but there is something that then pulls us back to the place where we're meant to be, that represents that center point. And in that place of alignment, that there's another word, maybe you have it in here too. I'm going to stop the share. And maybe, I don't know if how personally you want to speak about that, but that sense, knowing when we are in alignment and in balance with who we are meant to be, we kind of know it when we feel it, is my sense.
I believe that we're born in alignment,
Mm-hmm.
depending where we are raised, how we are raised, and not only by our primary relationships, mother and father, and the nuclear family, our siblings, but the general culture that we all come from. That's when we begin to go out of alignment. You know, we have in Israel, when we buy an item of clothing, in the label, it usually says Sug Aleph.
Mm-hmm.
It means it's not Sug Bet. It's not a second. It's a first.
Mm-hmm.
So using that as a model, I say that I believe the divine, as the divine creator, created all of us as Sug Aleph. None of us are seconds. So when we were conceived in the womb of our mothers, we have three parents. We have our biological mother and father and the divine creator.
Mm-hmm.
And we were created in alignment, a balance between intellect, seichel,
Mm-hmm.
and feelings, the heart, a balance between the physical and the spiritual. All of that, as we came into the world, was in alignment. So much of what we do as we grow older is to reclaim. We yearn. Why do we yearn for alignment? Why do we seek it? Because we have experienced it before.
Mm-hmm.
We can't yearn for something that we've never tasted, that we've never experienced. So therefore, to conclude, when we are in alignment, we know it.
We recognize it. Right.
We recognize it. The experience, it's an intuitive knowledge. It's not an intellectual knowledge and awareness. It's an intuitive awareness.
Yeah. Two things. So somebody sent me a direct message saying, doesn't Tiferet mean beauty? And the answer is yes. Tiferet literally means beauty, which, and you could say, well, what's that got to do with it? But actually, based on what you just said, what is more beautiful? You know, what is a better definition of beauty than that recognition of being in alignment? And then Laura Heckfield raises this question that occurred to her, that Tiferet might also represent trust, which also just feels like it can like be folded into it, because that sense of like, what does it mean to step out onto the tightrope, which of course fills me with dread. And yet, and I've never done that, you know, I've never even literally done that. I don't know if you have.
No, but I've always wanted to. Well,
with a net. But, you know, I have this in my imagination, which is also, you invited that, you know, using the imagination and visualization, and other people mentioned this, stepping out on it and then feeling like, oh, I'm going to be okay. You know, the trust, the balance, you know, that what you talked about just now about this innate memory / sense of alignment, is that all I really need to do is give myself over to this, and I won't fall. I'll be like, how else can you explain this? How people can do that? Right? What is that?
And you know, Mark and everyone else, when you watch someone walk a tightrope, they don't just go for a straight walk. They're going like this. And that's real alignment. We acknowledge this side. We acknowledge that side. We're always able to bring the two together, though. That's the alignment. It's not ignoring or denying different parts of me. It's bringing them together into a centered sense of self. Wow. That's why watching a person walk a tightrope it's beautiful. It's a form, for me, it's a form of ballet. It's a form of dance, but it's not static. There's always this.
Thank you, Cheryl Shapiro, for mentioning that Miret on the High Wire, also a personal favorite. Also, don't try this at home with the tight. No, this is meditative practice. Don't try this at home. I don't want anybody getting hurt out there. Okay, so this is interesting. Like for some people, this may or may not be an effective visualization, and so Lauren has mentioned, I had a phobia of heights and fear of falling, so I used an image of a center tree in the meditation. So
yeah,
that works. that's good taking care of oneself, by the way, just like for people to know that if a
Yes.
suggested image brings up, is too challenging, then, substitute freely as you need to. So, okay, we are at time. And Yiscah, I want to thank you. I can see from the comments, people really appreciated today's teaching very, very much. And it's a wonderful way. What a great way to start this week of Tiferet. So many blessings to you. It's always especially wonderful to connect with the teachers in Israel and in Jerusalem in particular. And so many blessings to you. And
Thank you.
So I'm going to make sure we put in the chat the link to the text, which has Yiscah's website and contact information.
Right, perfect. And in closing, I invite all of you, and you do come to Israel, please come to me or come to our gathering on Shabbat morning. I teach, we meditate, we chant, we share. And now we're going to resume our Kiddush. We haven't had herring together in over a year, but this coming Shabbat, we're going to.
Now you got me.
Now I got you, right? You're all invited. You're all invited. And I hope to be able to connect with all of you at another time. Bezrat Hashem.
Bezrat Hashem. Thank you so much, Yiscah. Okay,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Adi.
much.
Thank you, Deborah. Thanks, everyone. Hope to see you soon.